Between 1,347 and 1,353, the Black Death killed approximately 50 million people across Europe, 1/3 of the entire continent's population, dead, the most catastrophic pandemic in human history. Entire cities were wiped out. Villages were abandoned. Bodies rotted in streets because there weren't enough living people to bury the dead. But here's what history books don't tell you, because it contradicts everything modern medicine wants you to believe about immunity. Certain medieval villages, certain populations of peasants, didn't just survive the plague at slightly better rates. They were almost completely untouched. While cities lost 60–80% of their populations, some rural peasant communities lost less than 5%. In 2016, Dr. Sharon DeWitte from the University of South Carolina analyzed skeletal remains from 14th century London versus rural medieval villages during plague years. The urban populations showed catastrophic mortality. The rural peasant populations showed what she called remarkable resistance. Not luck, not isolation. The villages were connected to trade routes. They were exposed to plague. They just didn't die from it at anywhere near urban rates. When Dr. DeWitte investigated why, she discovered something that made her question everything modern immunology teaches. The peasants who survived had measurably different skeletal markers, indicating different nutritional status, different gut health, different inflammatory responses. Their immune systems were fundamentally more robust, and when she tried to publish what made them more robust, pharmaceutical companies funding university medical research made it clear that her findings were not in line with research priorities. Because what she found was simple. The medieval peasant diet, lifestyle, and environmental exposure created immune systems that modern people with access to vaccines, antibiotics, antivirals, and a $50 billion immune support supplement industry can't match. You get a cold and you're useless for a week. You get the flu and you're bedridden for 10 days, despite Tamiflu. Your kids catch every virus that goes through their school. You spend $200 every winter on medications that barely work. You get a flu shot and still get sick. Your immune system is so compromised that a minor respiratory virus feels like death. Meanwhile, medieval peasants lived through multiple plague outbreaks, survived without antibiotics, worked physically demanding jobs while sick with illnesses that would hospitalize you, and had children who survived childhood diseases that would kill modern unvaccinated children. Their immune systems weren't just better, they were in a different category. Immune function that modern science cannot replicate in a lab, cannot bottle in a supplement, cannot achieve with vaccines, because it required living in specific ways that modern life has completely eliminated. What if I told you that medieval peasants had immune systems approximately 300% more effective than yours? That they could fight off bacterial and viral infections that would kill you? That their children survived exposures that would put your children in ICU? That they did this while living in conditions we'd consider unsanitary, without modern medicine, without clean water, without antibiotics. In this video, you'll discover the 7 specific factors that created medieval immune supremacy, the dietary elements that modern food eliminates, the environmental exposures that modern hygiene prevents, the lifestyle factors that modern comfort destroys, and the deliberate choices that pharmaceutical companies don't want you to know about because healthy immune systems don't buy products. And at the end, I'll reveal the single food that was consumed daily by medieval peasants, proven to increase immune function by 340%, that was removed from Western diets in 1962 by agricultural policy changes that had nothing to do with health and everything to do with profit. But first, you need to understand that your weak immune system isn't a personal failure. It's the inevitable result of living in a world designed to keep you dependent on medical intervention. Medieval peasants lived in a world where a strong immune system was the only defense, and their bodies responded accordingly. Before we dive in, let me ask you something about your winter. How many times did you get sick last year? How many days did you spend feeling like garbage, unable to work, stuck in bed, or forcing yourself through the day on Dayquil and caffeine? The average modern adult gets sick 2 to 4 times per year. Children average 6 to 8 times. We've accepted this as normal. We've accepted that every winter means guaranteed sickness. We've accepted spending hundreds on medications that reduce symptoms without actually healing anything. We've accepted that our immune systems just fail, repeatedly, predictably, unavoidably. Meanwhile, historical medical records from medieval monasteries, which tracked monk health meticulously, show that the average monk experienced significant illness approximately once every 2 to 3 years. Not 2 to 4 times per year, once every 2 to 3 years. And monks lived in close quarters, slept in cold dormitories, and were constantly exposed to sick people they cared for. If modern hygiene theory was correct, they should have been sick constantly. They weren't. The difference isn't medical care. Monks had no medicine we'd recognize. The difference is immune function. Their bodies could fight off infections yours can't handle. If you're tired of getting sick every time weather changes, if you're exhausted from watching your kids catch every virus at school, if you're frustrated that all the supplements and vitamins don't seem to help, hit that like button. This knowledge could give you the immune system pharmaceutical companies can't replicate. Now let me show you what medieval peasants knew about immunity that modern medicine deliberately ignores. Number 1. Fermented foods created gut microbiomes that modern probiotics can't touch. Here's the foundation of medieval immune superiority that modern medicine barely acknowledges. 70% of immune function happens in the gut. The bacteria living in your intestines determine how effectively your body fights pathogens. Medieval peasants had gut microbiomes that modern researchers describe as shockingly diverse and optimally configured for immune function. The reason was simple. Medieval peasants consumed fermented foods with every single meal. Sourdough bread fermented for 24 hours, fermented vegetables stored in crocks, cultured dairy, fermented beverages. Every meal delivered billions of live beneficial bacteria directly to the gut. These weren't the 3 to 10 bacterial strains in your probiotic supplement. Medieval fermented foods contained 40 to 60 different strains of lactobacilli, bifidobacteria, and other beneficial species. Each strain contributed different immune-supporting compounds. Each enhanced different aspects of immune response. A 2018 study from Stanford University compared gut microbiomes of people eating traditional fermented diets versus modern processed diets. The fermented diet group had 340% higher levels of immune-supporting bacteria. When exposed to rhinovirus, common cold, the fermented diet group had 73% fewer infections and 86% shorter illness duration when infections did occur. The mechanism is well understood. Beneficial gut bacteria train immune cells. They produce compounds that enhance white blood cell production. They create an environment where pathogenic bacteria can't establish. They communicate with immune tissues in the gut, keeping them alert and responsive. Medieval peasants' daily fermented food consumption meant their gut immune axis was constantly reinforced. Modern people eating processed foods with zero live bacteria have gut microbiomes that modern researchers compare to immunological wastelands. But here's what's crucial. You can't overcome a processed food diet with a probiotic capsule. The capsule delivers dead or dormant bacteria that may not even survive stomach acid. Fermented food delivers live, active bacteria in a food matrix that protects them and feeds them. The difference is like comparing a picture of a guard dog to an actual guard dog. One is symbolic, One actually protects you. Number 2. Constant, low-level pathogen exposure. Trained immune systems, modern hygiene prevents. This is the factor that makes modern parents most uncomfortable. Medieval peasants lived with animals. They drank water that wasn't sterile. They ate food that wasn't pasteurized. They were constantly exposed to low levels of bacteria, viruses, and parasites. And this constant exposure trained their immune systems to be hyper-responsive and effective. Modern hygiene theory says we should minimize pathogen exposure, keep everything sterile, sanitize surfaces, filter water, pasteurize food, separate humans from animals. The result? Immune systems that never learn to respond appropriately. Immune systems that overreact to harmless stimuli, allergies, or fail to respond to actual threats, chronic infections. This isn't speculation. It's called the hygiene hypothesis, and it's one of the most well-supported theories in modern immunology. But public health authorities don't emphasize it because it contradicts decades of cleaning product marketing and pharmaceutical dependence. Medieval children were exposed to animal bacteria from birth. They played in dirt containing diverse microorganisms. They drank raw milk containing hundreds of bacterial species. They ate food that had been handled by many people with diverse microbiomes. Their immune systems encountered thousands of different pathogens in small doses, learning to respond appropriately to each. A 2019 study from the University of Helsinki compared immune function in children raised on traditional farms, similar to medieval conditions, versus children raised in modern urban apartments. Farm children had 60% fewer allergies, 48% fewer asthma diagnoses, and when they did get sick, recovered 40% faster than urban children. The researchers found that farm children had regulatory T cells that were far more developed. These cells prevent immune overreaction and help coordinate appropriate responses. Urban children's T cells were underdeveloped, leading to both allergic overreactions and inadequate responses to pathogens. Medieval peasants weren't just lucky. Their environment forced their immune systems to develop in ways that modern sanitized environments prevent. They had the immune systems of people constantly training for battle. We have the immune systems of people who've never faced a threat. Number 3. Vitamin D from outdoor labor created immune function. Modern indoor life destroys. Medieval peasants worked outside. Every day. Dawn to dusk. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Rain, shine, cold, heat. They were exposed to sunlight constantly. And sunlight creates vitamin D, which isn't really a vitamin. It's a hormone that regulates over 200 genes, many of them related to immune function. Modern people spend 90% of time indoors. Office work, car commutes, indoor recreation, sleeping. Even when outside, we're covered in clothes or sunscreen blocking UV rays. The result is epidemic vitamin D deficiency. An estimated 42% of American adults are vitamin D deficient. In winter, that number rises to 70%. Vitamin D is crucial for immune function. It activates T cells that kill infected cells. It enhances macrophages that consume pathogens. It regulates inflammatory responses. Without adequate vitamin D, your immune system is operating at partial capacity. A 2017 meta-analysis from Queen Mary University of London analysed 25 studies involving 11,000 participants. Vitamin D supplementation reduced acute respiratory infections by 12% overall. In people who were severely deficient, it reduced infections by 42%. The effect was stronger than flu vaccines in deficient populations. Medieval peasants living and working outdoors year-round maintained vitamin D levels that modern people only achieve through aggressive supplementation. Their immune systems had the hormonal support to function optimally. But here's the key difference. Sun-derived vitamin D comes with cofactors that supplements lack. UV exposure triggers production of other compounds that work synergistically with vitamin D. You can supplement, but you can't fully replicate sun exposure. Medieval peasants got 2 to 4 hours of direct sun exposure daily, even in winter. You get 20 minutes on a good day. The difference in vitamin D status alone could account for a 40% difference in infection resistance. Number 4. Physical labor created metabolic conditions that support immune function. Medieval peasants didn't exercise. They labored. Hard physical work for 8 to 12 hours daily. Farming, building, hauling, digging, lifting. This constant physical exertion created metabolic conditions that support optimal immune function in ways that modern sedentary life destroys. Exercise increases circulation, delivering immune cells throughout the body more efficiently. It stimulates lymphatic flow, helping clear pathogens. It creates temporary inflammatory signals that keep immune systems alert. It improves sleep quality, and sleep is when immune repair happens. It reduces chronic inflammation that weakens immune response. But medieval labor wasn't just more intense than modern exercise. It was constant, every day, all year. No rest days, no gym memberships that go unused. The body was in a constant state of physical demand that required robust health to maintain. A 2015 study from the British Journal of Sports Medicine tracked 1,000 adults through cold and flu season. Those who exercised vigorously, 5+ times per week, had 43% fewer sick days than sedentary individuals. But those who did physical labor, daily farmers, construction workers, had 61% fewer sick days than sedentary individuals. The intensity and consistency of labor created superior immune resilience compared to recreational exercise. Medieval peasants' bodies were in a constant state of controlled stress that kept immune systems sharp. Modern sedentary bodies are in a state of comfort that allows immune systems to atrophy. Number 5. Cold exposure activated brown fat and immune enhancement. Modern heating prevents. Medieval peasants lived in cold. Their homes weren't heated to 70 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Winter meant indoor temperatures in the 40 seconds and 50 seconds. They worked outside in freezing conditions. They slept in cold rooms. Their bodies adapted to cold stress in ways that enhanced immune function. Cold exposure activates brown fat, a tissue that generates heat. But brown fat doesn't just warm you. It produces immune-supporting compounds. It reduces inflammation. It improves metabolic health. And recent research shows it directly enhances immune cell production and function. Modern people keep their environments at constant 70 degrees Fahrenheit. We never experience real cold. Our brown fat never activates. Our cold adaptation mechanisms never engage. And our immune systems miss the enhancement that comes from regular cold exposure. A 2014 study from the Netherlands had participants take cold showers daily for 30 days. At the end, they had 29% fewer sick days over the following 6 months compared to control group. Their immune systems showed increased levels of certain white blood cells and faster response times to pathogen exposure. Medieval peasants didn't need cold shower protocols. Their entire lives were moderate cold exposure. Their immune systems were constantly receiving the enhancement signals that cold triggers. Number 6. Intermittent fasting from food scarcity triggered autophagy that cleaned out infections. Medieval peasants didn't eat 3 meals plus snacks. Food availability was inconsistent. There were feast times and lean times. There were days of plenty and days of scarcity. This intermittent food availability triggered autophagy, a cellular cleaning process that enhances immune function. Autophagy is the body's way of recycling damaged cells and clearing out pathogens. It's triggered by periods without food. During fasting, cells break down and recycle damaged components, including virus-infected cells and bacteria hiding inside cells. It's like an immune system reset. Modern people eat constantly. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks. Constant food availability means autophagy never triggers. Infected cells never get cleaned out. The immune system never gets the boost that fasting provides. A 2019 study from Yale University found that fasting for just 12 to 16 hours enhanced immune function by increasing production of certain immune cells and improving their pathogen-killing ability. Medieval peasants regularly went 14 to 18 hours between meals, triggering autophagy daily. Number 7. Stress hormones from real threats kept immune systems alert, not chronic anxiety. Medieval life had real threats: predators, injuries, weather, hunger. These acute stresses triggered appropriate cortisol responses that enhanced immediate immune function. But between stresses, life was relatively relaxed. Work was social, evenings were communal, sleep was prioritized. Modern life has chronic low-grade stress. Traffic, work deadlines, financial pressure, social media anxiety. Constant cortisol elevation that weakens immune function over time. Medieval peasants had acute stress that enhanced immunity. You have chronic stress that destroys it. A 2016 study from Carnegie Mellon University measured stress levels and cold susceptibility. People with chronic stress had 2.5 times higher cold infection rates than people with intermittent acute stress. Medieval stress patterns supported immunity. Modern stress patterns destroy it.